Hey guys, welcome to my second video tutorial on Final Cut Pro. Now that you know the basic stuff about Final Cut Pro, it's time to go over some basic editing, such as transitions, keyframes and video filters. Okay, so let's start with placing some basic video transitions in our footage. First, we go to the browser, to the Effects tab. If this tab isn't on your screen, go to Window and check Effects. Let's start with a very basic transition, the cross dissolve. Open the Video Transitions bin, then go to Dissolve, then drag the cross dissolve to the timeline right between two clips. You can make the transition as long as you want to by stretching the transition. Again, you can check or uncheck snapping by pressing the N key. Now as you can see, it needs to be rendered. So first we render our timeline by pressing Option R. Now it's time to play our transition. If you want to zoom into the timeline, you can use this slider. You can also use Command and the plus or minus keys. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to easily edit your transitions. Let's pick for instance the Venetian blind wipe. Go to Wipe and drag the Venetian blind wipe to your timeline between two clips. Here's a little tip. If you want to see what your transition will roughly look like, but you don't want to wait for it to render, press Option P. The footage will play in your canvas, but only at a low frame rate and with no audio. Now if we press Option P, we can see what the transition kinda looks like. Now let's edit the transition. Place the slider on the transition and double click on it. As you can see, an edit screen appears in the viewer. This is where you can adjust your transition. We can, for instance, change the angle, change the number of bands, and the border. If you're done adjusting, it's time to render again. And there we have our very own transition. Of course, there are audio transitions as well, but the standard version of Final Cut Pro only has two, the crossfades. You can use them if you want a soft transition between two audio clips, or if you want the audio to fade in or out. Now let's use some video filters, the Gaussian blur for instance. What we do is we double click on our clip, so it appears in the viewer. Then we place our slider on the clip. Then we go to Video Filters and then Blur. We drag the Gaussian blur to our viewer. When you go to Filters, you can make the clip as blurry as you like it, by dragging this slider. After this, it's time to render again. So these steps are the basic steps in editing. Now we're going to do something more advanced. Let's say we don't want an effect to be all over the clip, but at a certain time in the clip. To do this, we have to place some keyframes. Now first, what is a keyframe? Actually, it's a point in the clip where you tell the clip to do something. In this case, apply a blurry effect. I know it may sound a little confusing, but I'm going to show you how it works. Let's say we want this clip to get blurry at this certain point. What we do is we double click on a video clip so that it appears in the viewer. Then we go to Filters. Right here, you can see a slider. It's actually the same slider as in the timeline, because right now they're both standing at the same point in the clip. First we drag this one to 0, otherwise the whole clip is going to be blurry. Then we put our slider at this point, because we want our effect to start from here. What we do now is we press this button. This button sets a keyframe, so after this point something changes in the clip. Now we use the arrow keys to go a few frames next, because that is where we're going to place our second keyframe. You can also drag the slider, but using the arrow keys is more accurate. Now we can grab that keyframe and pull it up or down. As you can see, the clip gets blurry. But if we go to the previous keyframe by pressing this button, the clip is normal. We can also play our timeline in the viewer, but first we need to render. As you can see, the clip gets blurry. Now if we want the speed of the blur a little slower, we simply grab the second keyframe and place it a few frames further. Okay, now let's get our clip back to normal again. We put a new keyframe here and one here. Then we drag this keyframe to the bottom. To see the result, we need to render first. And there you go, a cool effect placed with keyframes. Now let's say we want to export a video into a video file. First we have to save it by pressing Command S. Then we go to File, Export, and then QuickTime Movie. This is the most used way of exporting a video. Let's name it Final Cut Pro Test. Choose your destination and click on Save. I hope you liked this tutorial. If you have any questions or suggestions for my tutorials, please leave a comment. My third tutorial will come soon. Thanks for watching.